are the deadliest and most destructive storms on Earth, with winds that move faster than a speeding race car, so powerful they can snap thick trees as if they were twigs. They can obliterate a home in an instant, wipe out an entire town. They come, they destroy, they conquer, and then they disappear, leaving their wreckage behind. Hurricanes and tornadoes. What is it about these awesome forces of nature that captures our imagination? We are at once spellbound by the spectacle, yet frozen by our fears. Hi, I'm Spencer Christian. Today we're going to travel inside a hurricane. We're going to get up close and personal with tornadoes. We're going to take on the frightening powers of Mother Nature. And if we come out of it all in one piece, well, we're going to know a lot more about these violent storms than you ever could imagine.
The word hurricane comes from the Native American word huracan, the name of the spirit who controls the east wind. Hurricanes are called by different names around the world. In the western Pacific Ocean, off the coast of China, they are called typhoons. In the South Pacific, off the coast of Australia and the Indian Ocean, they are tropical cyclones. And in the Philippines, they are baquitos. All hurricanes start over the ocean. In the eastern Pacific, the first hurricanes of the season typically form in May. In the Atlantic, Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico, most hurricanes occur from June through November, with mid-August to late October being the most active time for hurricanes. A hurricane is a type of tropical cyclone, a general term used to describe a storm with bands of wind that cycle around and around. The spinning is caused by a swerving movement created by the Earth rotating on its axis. We call it the Coriolis effect. This movement makes the winds move counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Tropical cyclones are classified by their intensity. Tropical depressions have winds of 38 miles per hour or less, and tropical storms have winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour. Hurricane winds blow between 74 and 200 miles per hour or more. Hurricanes can cover a path of 200 to 600 miles wide. They can travel thousands of miles in a matter of hours. Scientists have said that 20 minutes of the strongest hurricane is equal to 1 megaton H-bomb.
Okay, so now we know where hurricanes start. So the question is, how do they start? And how do they become so powerful? Let's give it a whirl.
A hurricane begins to form in the tropics with the evaporation of large amounts of warm ocean water. A group of thunderstorms moves in. Warm air rises into the thunderstorms, causing increased surface winds and more evaporation of ocean water. The exceptionally moist, warm air condenses into water droplets in the thunderstorms, releasing heat and making the storm stronger. These thunderstorms draw air into them at a faster rate, causing even stronger winds at the ocean's surface and evaporating even more water. A tropical storm is formed. Spiraling winds build around the center of the storm, which is called the eye. Massive bands of thunderstorms and clouds begin to spread, covering an area as large as 300 miles wide. After a few days, the wind speed is above 74 miles per hour, and the storm is now considered a hurricane. Once hurricanes form, they need to be tracked by meteorologists as they travel their path. Some die at sea, but some strike land with tremendous violence. When a hurricane strikes land, the ocean water can rise 20 feet higher than normal. We call this a storm surge. The combination of rising water, crashing waves, and gale-force winds wreaks havoc on whatever gets in its way. Beaches erode, trees uproot, boats are destroyed, homes can be washed away.
Wow, isn't that something? The incredible destruction caused by the wind and water from a hurricane. Now let's go over to my assistant, Tori, who is in Hurricane Central, and see what she's up to.
Let's see. There's Andrew and Bob and Diana.
What are you working on, Tori? A guest list for a party?
No, Spencer. These are names of some of the worst hurricanes in recent years.
Oh, of course. I knew that. You see, Tori is an expert when it comes to hurricanes.
Meteorologists first began naming tropical storms and hurricanes in 1950 to identify and classify the storms.
And to keep it simple, the naming system follows the International Phonetic Alphabet.
They used to only use female names, but now we alternate male and female names. So the first storm of the season could be Arthur, the next one could be Barbara, then Chester, and so on through the alphabet.
The names are chosen by the World Meteorological Organization from names that are suggested by the countries affected. In the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico, names are given a 6-year cycle. This means the name Hurricane Hortense from 1996 just may return in 2002. The names of the really big hurricanes, though, like Hurricane Andrew from 1992, are retired from the naming list forever, sort of like the Hall of Fame of hurricanes. Hey, I wonder, what's the farthest we ever got into the alphabet in 1 year in the Atlantic?
It was Tanya in 1995. There were 19 tropical storms and hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean that year, the most since naming began.
You see? I told you she was an expert.
How did a hurricane affect the Mayflower in 1620?
The Mayflower was sailing towards the eastern coastline when a violent storm blew the ship northward, forcing the Pilgrims to land in Massachusetts. A hurricane is an amazing phenomenon to look at, with its huge spiraling arms that span 300 miles wide. At the center of all these massive spirals is an opening, what we call the eye of a hurricane. It's about 30 miles wide when a hurricane is at its peak. Winds, water, and debris swirl viciously around the eye. The wall of thunderstorms surrounding the eye is called the eye wall. Think about it. At one moment, the storm is creating torrential rains and powerful gusts of wind. And then suddenly, the rain stops and the wind dies down. The sun comes out. You think the storm is over, and then whoosh, it starts all over again. That's what happens when you stand under the eye of a hurricane. Do you want to see for yourself? Come on.
We're on board a special plane, a WP-3, which flies right inside the eye of the hurricane. Pilots and scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, describe flying in the interior of the eye like being inside a giant stadium surrounded by a 50,000-foot wall. Imagine they look straight down through the center of the storm and they see the turbulent ocean below. They fly directly into hurricanes, not just for the adventure, but to gather information, such as the exact location of the hurricane, as well as the wind speed, pressure, and temperature at the center of the storm to help make better forecasts. A hurricane is coming. How do we know that? Nature offers dramatic signals before the hurricane strikes land. While the hurricane is hundreds of miles offshore, tides begin to rise. Cirrus clouds cover the sky. Finally, a glimpse of the hurricane. Along the horizon, dark clouds appear. The wind gradually increases. The air pressure drops. Squalls, violent gusts of wind and sheets of rain signal the arrival of the hurricane. While nature provides some clues that a hurricane is coming, they're often not enough. People need more time to prepare, to protect their homes and leave the area. This is why the U.S. Weather Bureau established a hurricane warning system. This system allows forecasters to predict the direction and speed of a hurricane days in advance, saving hundreds of lives. Meteorologists use many tools to track hurricanes. Satellites are key. They can locate and measure a hurricane's size and strength by taking pictures from thousands of miles above Earth. Doppler radar is a specific type of radar used in forecasting the weather. It helps detect severe weather and provides information about the speed and direction of winds at different heights, helping determine the storm's strength and movement. Doppler uses microwave signals that gauge motion within a storm. It measures the frequency of light, sound, or radio waves. Land-based radar is useful for locating hurricanes when they get within about 200 miles of the endangered area. A hurricane's destructive powers are measured using something called the Saffir-Simpson scale, which rates hurricanes based on wind speed. The weakest hurricanes are called Category 1 hurricanes, with winds blowing 74 to 95 miles per hour, about as fast as most trains. The strongest hurricanes are classified as Category 5. Their winds blow 155 miles per hour and more.